to Our Future is Kind, a podcast exploring how we build the future we want to live in, one kind act at a time. I'm your host, Michael G. Neese, president of Our Future is Kind, and your trusted companion as we search out kindness strategies we can use in our everyday lives. Together, as we chase the idea of building a kinder future, we will interview experts in kindness, team building, human motivation, corporate culture building, relationships, plus politicians, artists, and those with a vision for a healthy and kind future, one we all want to live in and deserve to enjoy together. In addition to interviews, we will consider positive depictions of humanity's future in art, literature, movies, and media. And we will issue kindness challenges each week, give an update about Our Future is Kind, the company, and what it's doing to stay true to its mission. So, let's dive in. Before we start this episode, just a quick reminder about the Human Summit. It's a movement focused on connection over division, kindness over judgment, and empathy over apathy. If you want to learn more, check out www.thehumansummit.com/home. As one of the co-founders of this Human Summit, I'm so excited to tell you just a little bit about it. Co-founder Kevin Hunting and I have put this together with an amazing board of advisors, and we can't wait to share it with you and the rest of the world. Check it out now and reach out to us if you have any questions. Welcome to Our Future is Kind podcast. I am so happy to have with me today John Neral. And John is a certified professional coach who helps mid-career professionals who feel undervalued and underutilized show up to find a job they love or love the job that they have. John's career journey includes a 25-year career in education, a long-standing consultancy with Casio America, and has served as a training and staffing director. He hosts the Mid-Career GPS podcast, which is a mighty fine podcast, by the way, and has recorded almost 300 episodes. Everybody, please welcome to the show, John Neral.
Michael, I am so honored to share this space with you today. It's always great to reconnect with you.
Well, when I was jumping off the cliff into my new career, you were one of the very first people that I had the chance to meet, and you were so encouraging and so warm and kind. When I put together my own podcast, I immediately said, I've got to have John on the show.
Well, I am honored to be here with you, and it was great having you on my show as well, so I know we're going to have a great conversation today.
For sure. So I would love to ask you, I've given an introduction of you, but I want you to tell the audience what makes you, you.
It's how I show up. And that's so important because I know through my own personal and professional experiences that how we show up matters. It's how we connect with people, how we engage with others. It's how we just simply sit and hold space for people at times. And whether it be in my personal life or throughout my career, one of the things that people have always said to me is that they feel heard and they feel seen. Mm-hmm. And I take that as one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten, just to simply be there for others.
And I know that you work in service of others. Can you tell us just a little bit more about your practice, how it is that you support people who, like me, go through career shifts and changes and might be feeling lost or confused or a little bit scared? How do you serve those people who come to you?
For the people whom I primarily help, Michael, we're talking mid-career, mid-level professionals who normally hold titles between manager and senior director. They're high performer, high potentialed individuals, and they have huge hearts. And the one thing they do not want to be is stuck. Because when they're stuck, they're not helping people. They're not moving theirs and others' careers forward. And so for me in the work that I get to do, because my mid-career journey was so impactful, it's really helping people navigate and figure out whatever's going to be next, whether it means they're going to leave an organization that they thought they were going to be there for their entire career, or they're going to make a career pivot because they want to go do something different because they're being called or pulled in a certain direction. So when you talk about being in service to others as a coach, what I get to do is really help them build what I call their GPS. It's their navigational system to whatever's going to be next. And I help them do that by how they prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do so they can show up to make the impact they want.
Well, I know that you've made the impact on a lot of different people over the years, and doing so means that you have to be on. You have to be, I assume, listening really hard and digesting a lot of information, trying to really get a sense of what is going to be best for this person as they describe it. Doing so takes, I'm guessing, a very kind heart. And I want to ask you, how do you try to be kind in the moment? Have you ever strayed from the path of kindness? Have you ever had to make amends for something that, you didn't quite show up in the way that you wish you had?
So I was born and raised in New Jersey, and every time I cross the border into the New Jersey Turnpike, kindness goes out the window.
I hear you on that. Absolutely.
Sometimes it's just good to be home.
Yeah. Now everybody out of my way. Yeah.
Exactly. There's nothing like driving in New Jersey, that's for sure. No, it's such a great question, Michael, because kindness takes, it can take a lot of energy, especially when we are feeling energetically drained or someone is really tapping us and kind of pulling on that. But for me, what I often find is that showing up from a place of kindness is really about showing up from a place of non-judgment. And right now, in this day and age, with so many things that are going on, it is sometimes very, very hard to suspend judgment. In my work, it's actually pretty easy because it's how I hold my coaching agenda with my client to make sure that I'm able to just be very curious and inquisitive for them about what they're thinking or what they're considering. And at the end of the day, it's their career. I trust them that they will make the best decisions for themselves. And so my agenda doesn't matter. It has no place in that coaching relationship. I'll often use the example, Michael, that if I'm working with someone who, let's say, is a very well-established corporate professional, and they were to come to a session with me and they were to say, you know what, John, I'm really kind of had it with what I'm doing. I just want to greet people at Walmart. That's a great job. I mean, those people that do it are amazing at what they do. I would hate that job. Like, it would drain the life out of me. But that's not my work. So my question to them is, why is that important to you? Why would you want to do that? What values is that going to hit? So the kindness piece for me is really about coming from a place of non-judgment, so I can listen very diagnostically and intuitively to help them as their coach figure out whatever's going to be next. I'm sure that, for some of my friends and relationships that I have, that, they might wish the non-judgment came in a little bit more sometimes, but sometimes that makes the friendship, I guess. So,
Yeah, no, I know what that feels like for sure. Yeah, there are definitely moments when it's easier to be curious and it's easier to try to see and hear that other person. I had a guest a few episodes ago, Daryl Davis, who brought up curiosity as being the core of his kindness habit, and it's interesting that you bring it up as well because you're in very good company. So, Our Future is Kind is a podcast that tries to focus on two things. It's really one thing, but it's two things. So let's dissect it just a little bit. And if you'll go with me on this sort of thought experiment, really want to hear what your thoughts are. So Our Future is Kind believes that in order to hit a target, you have to establish the target. So if we want to have a beautiful, kind, wonderful future for humanity, we have to define what it looks like. So do the thought experiment with me. It is suddenly 21:25. And now we have probably flying cars and some other really cool technologies. But what's characteristic of that future if we're doing everything that we can right now, we're doing all the right things, and we've made it the best that we can?
The thing that comes up for me, and I'll share with you, Michael, that it's a very different answer than what I was first thinking.
Hmm.
And that is that if we're looking 100 years from now, I think one of the biggest things we can do to be kind to each other is to pause. I
Hmm.
think right now we live in a world where everything is so quick and so reactionary. We are part of a scrolling culture that looks at something on our screens, quickly judges it, and moves on. We very rarely ever take time to pause and think.
Hmm.
Everything is so reactionary and volatile. And so if we're looking 100 years from now, I think we've benefited from a skill set to simply pause and to listen,
Hmm.
to extend that kindness forward, to really hear someone first before we react. And that's really difficult to do right now.
It absolutely can be. Yeah. I love that you bring that up because that's a quality I haven't heard before, but sign me up. I want to be in your version of the future. So what then? This is the second part. If you're going to hit that target, what are the actions that we need to be taking right now to make sure that everybody who deserves a place at the table, everybody that we want there, the kinds of actions are going on that, what do we need to do now to help get us there? What are those kind actions?
So in the moment of pausing, there's an opportunity to ask several questions. And those questions can often be asked internally as we're processing what's going on around us. So the first thing I would offer would be, what am I hearing?
Mm.
Or what is the person actually saying to me that I need to take notice of? What are they doing? What is the evidence that I'm gathering to see how their actions are demonstrating a particular concept, belief, philosophy, whatever that might be? Another question would be, do I align with that? And if I do, where can I push that common ground a little further? And if I don't, how do I show up from that place of curiosity and inquisition to learn a little bit more about that before I react? And then the last question would simply be, is this something I want to adopt?
Mm.
Is this something that I believe is going to honor, my values, my worth, my purpose? And is this something that I want to adopt because I feel it's going to move me and others forward? I think we'd be foolish to think that we all don't have an agenda. We all have things that are important to us, and oftentimes what creates a lot of disharmony and discord is because the other sides of the aisle, or both sides of the aisle rather, are so polar opposite, and there's never an opportunity to really listen and engage. And one of the things that I often think right now, especially when I hear people say like, oh, they made a business decision, I wonder how much we're really taking into consideration all angles. Are
Mm.
we finding a place to get to the middle? One of the things I don't talk about a whole lot is that within my education career, I had experience as a co-president of my local union negotiating our employment agreement, our contract. And when you're sitting at the table and you're negotiating a $25 million contract, um, you realize you're going to get certain things and you're not going to get certain things. That a good negotiation is both parties walk away from it feeling like they got something. They didn't get everything, but they got something, but there's still a common ground to move it forward. I feel like somewhere we've lost the middle. And I think in terms of being a little kinder or finding more kindness to hit that target, we might need to find the middle.
So, an expression that keeps popping up for me in any conversations that I have about the future or about how to negotiate with people, how to show up for people, it's this idea of showing up in good faith. It's the idea that once I come to the table and you come to the table, John, and we are trying to negotiate on something, that we legitimately want great outcomes for each other. as much as we want it for ourselves. Have you ever found situations where that is true? Have you found situations where that is absolutely not true, where somebody is not showing up in good faith? And do you have any secret sauce to try to convert those folks who really just want what they want?
So I have seen both. And what comes up for me, and it is absolutely on my reading list, is Mel Robbins' new book, where she talks about the whole principle of letting them, or she'll say, let them do that.
Right.
When somebody doesn't show up in good faith, and the example I often get, sorry to all my exes, but when you're in a dating relationship, sometimes people show up not from a place of good faith. Right? They're doing something in that relationship that might be not aligned to your own values. Perhaps maybe somebody works with a colleague or has a leader where they don't show up in good faith because they're always looking to take the credit for themselves, and they're very quick to throw people under the bus. Yeah. And so when I've encountered situations like that, the thing that often sees me through, and where I'm able to come from that place of kindness or grace, is to simply acknowledge them for who they are. I'm not in the business of trying to change people, but to simply say, look, I understand that you're someone who wants to take credit for everybody else's work. So if I'm going to be engaged with you in this relationship, I need to make sure that I advocate for myself. I don't reward bad behavior with bad behavior, but I'm also not going to let you get away with it, because I'm going to make you own what you're doing, or at least put a spotlight on that in that regard. So
I love the fact that you're not trying to force the other person to shift in some way. You're recognizing who and what they are. The concept of radical acceptance. Yeah. If something bad is going on at your local grocery store and you see, somebody's coming into the building and they're causing a ruckus, it is better to radically accept that is going on, so you can protect yourself, so you can make decisions based on that. Is that a principle that you find is helpful? I mean, in the corporate world, or when you're having negotiations with folks, to just radically accept this is what I'm working with?
One of the biggest challenges, I believe, especially for heart-centered mid-career professionals, is that they want to believe everybody is good. It's a great principle to have. I mean, to show up with best intentions for yourself and everyone else is admirable without question. But in certain organizations, that culture does not always exist. And so one of the things I work with my clients on is instilling a belief in them that they are 100% responsible for their careers. Things are going to happen. You will be overlooked for promotions. You will be you'll have opportunities for visibility on a certain project. You will be invited to some meetings. You will not be invited to others. Those are all circumstances. Circumstances are neutral until we have a thought about them. If that thought that we have about them is that I am always in control of my career, I am controlling what that next step's going to be, then we can take greater command of that. And there is still plenty of opportunities for us to show up from a place of incredible kindness and empathy and service in a way that truly aligns with what's important to us, rather than feeling like we have to play the quote-unquote game that an organization is setting for us because that's the culture. I remember working in one organization where I was tasked to help transform a team. And in part of that transformation, it was recognizing those who weren't performing and putting them on performance improvement plans, which in some cases led to termination.
Right.
And in other cases, it was having very honest and intentional conversations with them about what they liked working there and what they didn't, and what their path was moving forward. And I always approached every conversation as if I was the one having the conversation with.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be the one that was feeling respected and seen and heard and validated. It didn't mean that there were not tough decisions that had to be made. But if the shoe was on the other foot, I wanted to be treated with the same grace, kindness, and fairness as I was giving to those people.
I love that perspective taking, that idea of trying to really genuinely walk in that other person's shoes or sit in their seat in those circumstances. That's beautiful. I knew having you on the show was the exact right match. So I want to know, you are a very warm and very supportive person. And I think in some ways that's really inspirational. It gets people excited about, wow, I own this power. If I'm in charge of my career, John, then I have power and I kind of know what to do with that. I want to know, what inspires you? What are the things that you look to in the outside world, if it's a TV show or a podcast or a series of books? What are the things that you reach for when you're like, gosh, I want to feel like we're headed in the right direction, and I want to feel inspired to be part of that?
Well, there was a cabaret singer years ago in New York City named Nancy Lamont. She's not overly famous. She used to be really good friends with Kathie Lee Gifford, which we've got to go back to the 90s to kind of really get to this point. But Nancy tragically passed away far in the light of her prime, and she was taken from us way too soon. But she was very close with a composer named David Friedman. And when she knew she was dying, David came to her and said, I want to write you your song. And for an artist, it's one of the most amazing gifts you could get, is to have somebody encapsulate your life, your belief, your values into 3 minutes worth of music.
Yeah.
And he did. And one of Nancy Lamont's songs is called We Can Be Kind.
Oh, wow.
And I invite everybody to search on YouTube. If you type in We Can Be Kind, Nancy Lamont, Lamott, you will hear one of the most beautiful songs ever written. And it is one of my deepest sources of inspiration, is to simply show up amidst the chaos, the confusion, the hatred, the hurt, the love, and to show up from a place of kindness, because that's how you honor yourself on this earth. This is your legacy and what you want to be known for. Those words continue to touch me to this day.
Music is transformative.
Yes.
It absolutely is. Whenever I speak of the metaphor of how unique every person is on this planet and how lucky we are just to know each other, I usually say something along the lines of, if you're here to sing a song, you are the only one who can do it. If you're here to dance a dance, to write a book, to do something, nobody else can replicate that. The best they can do is to hope to imitate it once they've already seen you do it, which means your contribution is still unique and infinitely precious. So I love the fact that you pointed us back to music. Right now, have you seen the movie Wicked?
I have.
Yeah, what did you think?
I absolutely enjoyed it. I've also seen the Broadway production or a touring production of it 3 times as well. So it was magical without question. It was moving. I will tell you, the second act of Wicked is really hard for me to get through because it's so emotional.
Sure.
So there's part of me not looking forward to that, but I will absolutely go and see it. But when you think about how we're all different and how we're treated, there's so many powerful messages in that movie about recognizing when we're kind and when we're not. And so, yeah.
And the importance of being there for each other as much as we know how to do.
Yeah.
also a big piece of it. You know, if we're not in this together, then I don't know why we're here.
Right. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, tell me, what are you working on these days? Are there any big projects or events, any things that you want to tell our audience about so they can take some furious notes now? It will be in the show notes as well, but you know.
So one of the things that I am working on that I'm really excited to share with everybody is that I am getting ready to launch a brand new membership community specifically for mid-career professionals. It's going to launch in Q1 of 2025, and the sole purpose of this group is to provide a space for mid-career professionals who feel stuck, undervalued, and underutilized, whether it be in terms of navigating their career or navigating their leadership journey, to come in and find a place for support. And so I'm excited to launch this part of my practice, which is something I've never done before, but I'm doing it because it's an opportunity to reach more people than I've ever done before, because I only have so many spots for one-on-one coaching, and this allows me to tap into and reach a whole different branch of mid-career professionals who may not have been able to do one-on-one coaching or didn't have the financial resources to do one-on-one coaching. So it honors my value and my commitment to serve the mid-career community as much as possible, and I am really excited to get that out there.
That sounds great. It sounds wonderful. If somebody wanted to look it up and find it, I know you're going to provide me with the link, but is there an easy thing for people to just remember if they're driving in a car?
Absolutely. So the easiest thing to do, everything's on my website. It is johnneral.com, JOHNNERAL. Information about the community will be there, along with several free resources and guides, a couple of online courses, and a link to the Mid-Career GPS podcast as well.
Wonderful. I applaud the work that you do, because when I was in corporate spaces, when I was in several other different industries as well, what I found was people who feel lost, people who feel confused or scared, they don't know which way to turn. I just know that you're making a huge difference for that community. And so I just want to say, on behalf of that community, thank you, John, for what you do.
I'm grateful to do it, and thank you very, very much.
The kindness challenge for this episode. In today's fast-paced world, the kindest thing you can do might simply be to pause, to listen with curiosity, to see without judgment, and to engage with intention. This week, give yourself and others the gift of the pause. Ask, while you're pausing, what am I really hearing? Do I align with this, or am I just reacting? How can I bring grace into this moment? Want to be inspired? John finds inspiration in a powerful song, We Can Be Kind, by Nancy Lamott. Written by David Friedman, this song is a reminder that amid all the chaos, confusion, and division, kindness is still a choice we can make every day. Find it on YouTube or other streaming platforms. Search for Nancy Lamott, Lamott. We Can Be Kind. Thanks again for listening to our Future is Kind podcast, a podcast in search of a kinder future. Go out there and do something kind.